Good evening. I hope you won't mind if I do some gushing for a bit. Indie games have been bigger, better, and more abundant now than in any time in recorded digital history. An industry that once started at the forefront of PC gaming in the 80s has sprouted into a magnificent beanstalk of video games that touch on almost every genre and potential audience imaginable. Unfortunately, actually getting the golden goose is pretty freaking difficult these days, even for the giants. But while I could crush your spirit with endless tales of blood, sweat, and tears that led to complete obscurity, nobody wants to hear me talk about myself again, so let's focus on the games themselves. The month of May is shaping up to be a titanic time for indie darlings, with not just one, but two IGF winners making their public debut on the same day, along with some highly awaited titles, no, not that one, with the promise of even more greatness to come in the following months. I could talk your ear off about the games that have already hit the street and charmed the pants off me, but I just designed this character a week ago and I'm not sharing my bare legs to you perverts. So let's celebrate my upcoming 40th birthday. Why did I share that with them? That was such a bad idea. With the games I'm most excited for this spring. Easily, the top highlight of the month for me is going to be the blistering boomer shooter phenom Selaco, a fast-paced, destruction-heavy showcase made entirely in the Z-Doom engine. Yes, the same engine used to run Doom on modern computers is also used by indie developers to make their own takes on the classic 2.5D keycard-grabbing, demon-slapping subgenre. But none of them are stunning to look at as Selaco, which manages to meld old-school and new-school gameplay and visuals, with plenty of destructible objects, stylish lighting, and frenetic set pieces that might remind you a bit of Monolith's classic Fear series, but without the girl from The Ring. People really found that scary, huh? Speaking of throwbacks, you might already recognize the heavy influence shaping our next title, Abiotic Factor. It takes Valve's groundbreaking classic Half-Life and asks a simple but compelling question. What if you weren't Gordon Freeman? What if you were the disposable NPCs instead? With no Gordon and no G-Man to trap you outside of time, you and your fellow rookie hires are going to have to work together to survive one hell of an orientation day. Placing a survival crafting game inside a knockoff Black Mesa is a brilliant concept ripe for comedy, and the little bit I've played of it already works really well. You won't be flooding a room with grenades or emptying multiple clips into mercenary grunts. You'll be throwing tiny nets that you fashioned out of twine and hope. The level design is handcrafted and has that pleasing loop-around design where you will eventually unlock shortcuts as you're finding pathways to new areas. Like Selaco, it's starting in early access, but the foundation is already rock solid. If your face is feeling heavy from all the clown makeup you've been applying after every Nintendo Direct, there are multiple search action games to keep that rubber nose unsqueaked. Nine Souls is the latest game from Red Candle, the studio behind modern horror classics Devotion and Detention. But unlike those games, this one is a side-scrolling Sekiro-style hack-and-slash. And also unlike those games, it will probably not be pulled from storefronts for extremely stupid reasons. But just in case it does, keep an eye out for it on May 29th. There's also Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder, a steampunk Metroidvania that looks every bit like a long-lost PS1 classic, with beautifully vibrant pixel art, smooth animations, and detailed character portraits. I demoed this one during the very first Steam Next Fest back in 2021, and folks, this one's my personal Silk song. There was a long period of radio silence where I wondered if it was ever going to be finished, and I'm so glad that it's made it to the finish line. If, however, you're the kind of gamer that liked messing around with MSX emulation, you might be into Pampas Selene, The Maze of Demons, a game so authentic it was actually made for the MSX2 and then ported back to the PC. It reminds me a lot of Mini Ghost, an MSX-styled spin-off of Ghost 1.0 made by the same developer as this game, but feeling far more fleshed out and less like a prototype. And of course, if you've been following indie games at all this year, you're probably aware of Animal Well, which looks to be for exploration platformers what Tunic was for Zelda-likes. I love the living world presented here, and the promise of secrets buried all throughout the game. It feels like a modern take on 2000s indie greats like Cyclist, Within a Deep Forest, and an Untitled Story, and if you know anything about those games, you can probably understand my excitement. If you prefer mansion exploration to cavern exploration, Crow Country might be up your resident alley. No, there isn't a mansion, but the decrepit abandoned theme park you'll be navigating has all the same hallmarks of the Capcom classics, with puzzles, esoteric key doors, roaming shamblers, and safe rooms, all with the cozy look of a pre-rendered Final Fantasy title, courtesy of SFB Games, the developers of one of my favorite games of 2020, Tangle Tower. While this isn't exactly their comfort zone, I can say from playing the demo that they've nailed the look and feel of the survival horror classics, and the setting is already intriguing enough that I want to see what lies beneath it all when it releases on May 9th. In a slightly similar vein is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, by the developer of one of my favorite games of 2019, Sayonara Wild Hearts. Very little has been revealed about this game, but it looks like you'll be exploring a mansion and solving puzzles, while being immersed in a presentation style so slick and eccentric that I've had to convince multiple people that it's not Suda51. On the topic of stylish narrative experiences, Hauntii takes you on a journey through the afterlife, as a ghost recovering their memories who can inhabit objects ghost trick style and interact with them. The game has what I can best describe as the narrative equivalent of Mario 64 stars, given for completing objectives and providing you with glimpses into your past life. There's even a tiny bit of stealth and twin-stick combat, making for an altogether unique blend of action and story, along with the jaw-droppingly beautiful visual design. Also on the subject of great visual design, Until Then has a warmth and an earnestness to its storytelling, combined with nuanced pixel animation that I haven't seen since Meredith Grant's Perfect Tides in 2022. There's also a hint of the supernatural at play, with the characters questioning reality and whether they're experiencing the Mandela effect or whether something else is going on. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if the full game can pull off what the demo promised, and we'll find out on May 23rd. I'm a sucker for deductive games like Return of the Obra Dinn and Case of the Golden Idol, and games don't get more deductive than this. Okay, Nintendo, you can hire me to rate for Nintendo Directs any day now. Duck Detective is a family-friendly take on the genre, as you're solving a cubicle crime rather than a series of grisly murders, but it should provide a lot of fun for those who like the Frog Detective, or maybe find games like Obra Dinn to be a little too perplexing. And while you're solving crimes, there's Little Locked Rooms, a game about rotating crime scene dioramas around and figuring out how various killers pulled off their schemes with the help of your dad. Dad Detective. Wow, there's a lot of detective puns you can make, huh?
His name was Dexter, a great detective.
Okay, never mind. The last demo I played on this list, but in a vastly different genre, is the dungeon crawler Cryptmaster, winner of the Independent Game Festival Award for Excellence in Design. What sets Cryptmaster apart from its contemporaries, aside from its charismatic dungeon master calling to mind old VHS board games like Nightmare, is its typing gameplay. We don't get a lot of typing games these days, or, well, ever, aside from Epistory, Texorcist, or Typing of the Dead Overkill, so it's always nice to see a new genre blend that brings typing into the fold. You'll be typing words to call out your attacks and spells, and there's also a 20 questions minigame for figuring out what's inside treasure chests. Aspects of the game remind me a little of some of Jellyvision's earlier You Don't Know Jack games, and it will sometimes have some surprising answers to the random words you type while exploring each floor. I can only hope that the game will ramp up the surprises with each new floor on May 9th. Now, this is a curated list, but there's even more games in May that I'm highlighting, from sci-fi story-based IGF winner 1000X Resist to comedy RPG Athenian Rhapsody, and many, many more games that are not in my personal wheelhouse or just don't really need the extra spotlight. There's also many games from the past few months that I'd love to talk about in another video, like Botany Manor, Pepper Grinder, Mini Shoot Adventures, and Children of the Sun. And that's to say nothing about the games coming this summer, whether it's the gorgeously animated #Blood, We've Got Ace Attorney at the Office, Paper Perjury, LucasArts Love Letter Locomotive, Shadow Hopping Shim, Tetris RPG Flowstone Saga, Frostpunk 2, Cat Quest 3, SteamWorld Heist 2? Oh, and some sort of tree DLC about a ring. Wait, hold on, there's also times in Galaxy where you're a reporter, and Double Shake is like Tomba and Mischief Makers combined. Come back! There's Phoenix Springs and Asbury Pines, Magical Delicacy, Holston, Roman Sands I'm not finished! Crypt Custodian, Town Seek, Psychroma! UFO 50 is gonna happen this year! Ow!